Today is Wednesday, December 16th, 2015, and we will now call to order the 335th meeting of the City of Laurel Board of Appeals. Ms. Green, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Lee.
Present.
Mrs. Les.
Here.
Mrs. Collins.
Here.
Chairwoman Chanot. Acting Chairman Whitley.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
No problem. All right. The next agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the September 24th, 2015 meeting. Does anyone have any amendments or corrections to the minutes?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that the minutes be accepted as read.
Second.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Les.
Yes.
Mrs. Collins.
Yes.
Chairman Whitley.
I'm going to abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Motion carries.
The next agenda item is variance application number 857 for the property at 106 Lafayette Avenue. Mr. Brock, may I have a reading of the file, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Variance application number 857 was filed on October the 26th, 2015, requesting variances to construct a 100 feet by 40 foot metal building replacing the existing 1,580 square foot structure that was originally built in 1947 at the property known as 106 Lafayette Avenue, Laurel, Maryland 20707, Zone IG Industrial General. Under date of November the 24th, 2015, a letter asking for comments was sent to the City of Laurel Police Department, Office of the Fire Marshal, Department of Public Works, Department of Parks and Recreation, Maryland Department of Planning, Washington Suburban Sanitation Commission, and Prince George's County Health Department. The following responses were received and has been made a part of the official record. Laurel Police Department, November 4th, 2015, made no comment. Laurel Department of Parks and Recreation, November the 5th, 2015, also no comment. Prince George's County Health Department, November 5th, 2015, stated that the applicant must obtain a raise inspection by the Prince George's County Health Department prior to the demolition of the existing structure on the property. WSSC, November 10th, 2015, no issue was requested. Laurel Department of Public Works, November 24th, 2015, it reads as follows. The property right-of-way line and the public utility easement line need to be shown and labeled on the site plan. The proposed building layout needs to include the streetscape such as a sidewalk, curb and gutter, utility poles, etc., just like the existing condition site plan. According to the county and city standards, the width of the commercial driveway apron is a minimum of 30 feet. The applicant needs to show the width of the driveway apron and the layout of the parking spaces. The existing driveway apron is in poor condition and will need to be reconstructed to comply with city standards. No responses were received from any other agencies. Under date of November 6, 2015, a letter advising of this public hearing was sent by certified mail to the applicant, the property owner, and all contiguous property owners. All return receipts were received. The file contains a certificate of publication verifying that this application and public hearing was advertised in the December 3, 2015 issue of the Prince George's Sentinel. A memorandum from the City of Laurel Planning Commission to the Board of Appeals dated December 9, 2015 reads as follows. At the regular meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission held on December 8, 2015, the following action was taken on the subject zoning application. On motion by Mr. Welford, second by Mr. Kish, and carried on a roll call vote by all other members present, the Planning Commission recommends that the City of Laurel Board of Appeals grant variance application number 857 as presented in the technical staff report. The file contains an affidavit signed by the applicant attesting that a zoning sign has been placed on the subject property and has remained and shall remain until a decision is reached by the Board of Appeals. That concludes the reading of the file, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any questions from any board members? Okay. Has anyone signed up to speak?
The applicant is present.
All right, thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
All right. What would you like to tell us, if anything?
I'd just like to just tell you that the building's extremely old, and we'd we'd like to make our building look a little bit more like the existing buildings there, which it's going to, and have a nice place to store our material and a safer place to store our vehicles and stuff like that. It's
Okay,
a better place to do business in.
thank you. Can you give us your address for the record, please? I'm sorry.
John Thompson, 106 Lafayette Avenue, Laurel.
All right. Any questions?
No, I'm fine.
That was the old Lotus house, wasn't it?
Yep, I think it was. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this agenda item? No other questions from board members?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I hereby move that we adopt the findings of fact and conclusion of law as outlined in the technical staff report and move approval of application number 857.
Call for a vote. I'm sorry, is there a second? I'm sorry, thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Les?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Chairman Whitley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the board must now approve the resolution number 15-12 BOA for variance application number 857. I'll entertain a motion on the resolution.
Mr. Chair, I hereby move that we approve resolution number 15-12-BOA for the application 857 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
Mrs. Les?
Yes.
Chairman Whitley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next agenda item is variance application 858 for the property located at 1500 Baltimore Avenue. Mr. Brock, may I have a reading of the file, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Variance application number 858 was filed on October the 29th, 2015, requesting a 5-foot rear yard setback variance in order to construct a 4,993 square foot commercial building with off-street parking, replacing the existing 2,173 square foot retail store constructed in 1964 at property known as 15001 Baltimore Avenue, Maryland 20707, Zone CG, Commercial General. Under date of November the 2nd, 2015, a letter asking for comments was sent to the City of Laurel Police Department, Office of the Fire Marshal, Department of Public Works, Department of Parks and Recreation, Maryland State Highway Administration, Prince George's County Health Department, Prince George's County Department of Public Works and Transportation, Prince George's County Public Schools, Washington Suburban Sanitation Commission, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, Maryland Department of Planning, and Verizon Communication. The following responses were received and have been made a part of the official record. City of Laurel Police Department, November 4th, 2015, no comment. City of Laurel Department of Parks and Recreation, November 5th, 2015, no comment. City of Laurel Office of the Fire Marshal, November 5th, 2015, that reads as follows. Please add the following conditions. 1. Demolition permit required. 2. Building must be fully sprinkled. And 3. The handicap parking space shown on the plans for the proposed medical office shall be moved closer to the tenant space. Prince George's County Health Department, November 6, 2015, stated that the applicant must obtain a RAS permit by the Health Department prior to the demolition of the existing structure on the property. Washington Suburban Sanitation Commission, November 10, 2015, there were no issues. Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, November 12, 2015, no objection to the request. Maryland State Highway Administration, November 9, 2015, states the following. 1, a traffic impact study will be required for any additional traffic or trips that are generated by the proposed development. The trigger for the requirement of the TIS, Transportation Impact Study, is 50 peak hour trips or more. Number 2, any work in the SHA right-of-way will require SHA plan review, approval, and permit issuance. The applicant will have to close the existing access point on US 1 closest to US 1 and Marshall Avenue, since it does not meet SHA access guidelines. City of Laurel Department of Public Works, November 30th, 2015, states the following. The legend must include the property right-of-way line and the public utility easement line on the site plan. 2 of the 3 entrances to the site are on Baltimore Avenue. A roadway maintained by the Maryland State Highway Administration, and the applicant is responsible for any necessary permits along Baltimore Avenue. The applicant is also responsible for any necessary stormwater management permits with Prince George's County. According to the city's standards, the minimum width of a commercial driveway apron is 30 feet. The width of the driveway apron needs to be shown on the site plan. A 5-foot wide public sidewalk needs to be provided along the north and east sides of the property and tied under the existing sidewalks on Stagger Road and on Baltimore Avenue. Any utility cuts performed on a city street must follow the city standards that the permanent patch and the cut area are required from curb to curb and a minimum of 25 feet on each direction of the cut. The scope of the restoration would be determined by the department. If any road closures are required on a city street, the applicant must consult with the department and receive permission prior to the start of the work. No responses were received from any other agencies. Under date of November 6, 2015, a letter advising of the public hearing was sent by certified mail to the applicant, the property owners, and all contiguous property owners. All return receipts were received. The file contains a certificate of publication verifying this application, and public hearing was advertised in December 3, 2015 issue of the Prince George's Sentinel. Memorandum from the City of Laurel Planning Commission to the Board of Appeals dated December 9, 2015 reads as follows. At the regular meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission held on December 8, 2015, the following action was taken on the subject zoning application. On motion by Mr. Wilford, second by Mr. Kish, and carried on a roll call vote by all other members present, the Planning Commission recommended that the City of Laurel Board of Appeals grant varied application number 858 as presented in the technical staff report. The file contains an affidavit signed by the applicant attesting that a zoning sign has been placed on the subject property. It has remained and shall remain until a decision is reached by the Board of Appeals. That concludes the reading of the file, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Just have one question. Did the applicant make staff aware that no one would be here on their behalf?
No, they didn't.
No. They were at the planning commission meeting, and I explained to them. They also got a letter with the hearing dates, but I explained to them then that it wasn't approved until it came to the board, and that he would have to come to that meeting too. So I'm not sure why no one's here.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
No.
It seems like a small lot to have a bigger building on it, but they say the existing building is 2,000 square feet, the proposed is 5,000, and the parcel is 25,000. It just seems, looking at it, Route 1, it just looks like a small lot to be able to hold a restaurant, a bank, convenient retail, medical office.
It is a small lot, and the back of the lot is very steep, which is is why they've requested the variance. But it meets all other the conditions of the zone for lot coverage.
For parking? Are they having entrances from the front, from the Route 1 side only, or are there entrances from the back?
No, just from the Route 1 side only.
I guess some parking will be around the back.
Parking along the front? No, not along the back. because that's the 5-foot variance. It'll be in 2 rows of parking in the front.
Is that enough to support a bank, a carry-out restaurant, medical office?
Well, those are simply examples of what could be in there. In order to have the use approved for occupancy, they would have to meet the parking requirement. So they couldn't go in there with some use that would require 50 parking spaces. They would have to say a mercantile or something smaller to fit the required parking spaces.
So the parking requirements are based on the type of tenant or just on the square
Yes,
footage?
it's the type of use, the tenant.
Okay.
And square footage of that use.
Okay.
So the use will have to be retrofitted to the building, so to speak.
Thank you.
Does the board have any quorums about going forward without the applicant being here?
Well, you know, Mr. Chairman, if you have a problem with this, you can certainly carry it over without the applicant here. Actually, there's very little case in front of you except for the staff's presentation. You don't have anybody here to accept it or to say they're in agreement with it. Not that we think they wouldn't be, but if the board is at all nervous about doing anything without the applicant here, we could put this off until the next meeting of the board, if you wanted to.
Thank you, Councilor. Well,
I don't have a problem simply because, as we've seen this year, if there were people opposed or companies opposed, they definitely would have made themselves known.
Oh, yeah, no question.
And the fact that no one has opposed it, I'm comfortable with it.
what's the pleasure of the board?
I hereby move that we adopt the findings of fact and conclusion of laws outlined in the technical staff report. Move approval of application 858 for the reasons I just stated.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Mrs. Les,
Yes.
Chairman Whitley.
I'll vote yes as well then.
Motion carries.
All right.
I hereby move that we approve resolution 15-13-BOA for application 858 as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. The vote, please.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Les, Mrs. Collins,
Yes.
Chairman Whitley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I believe that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Amen.
Mr. Chair, you raise a good point, but as I said, since I haven't seen the application, really, I wasn't going to stop the train.
No, that's fine. And we all went along. It just, I don't know if I've ever been at a hearing where the applicant didn't show up.
Right, and they're required to be here.
They aren't required, but anything could have happened.